to pose each other some questions about where our industry is heading in terms of technology and the supercar market, the hypercar market in general. And Monica, if I can start with you, you're going to pose questions to me. So this is basically truth or dare. You know this game?
Okay.
I'll stick to car business.
I'm afraid Ron is waiting for me.
Introduce yourself. Yeah. My name is Victor Mueller. I'm the CEO of Spyker, founder and CEO of Spyker.
My name is Monica Mikac, and I'm Chief Operations Officer of company Rimac Automobile.
My name is Tariq Ali. I'm the Sales Director for Koenigsegg Automotive for the Americas.
Monica, truth or dare? Your company, Rimac, has made an amazing entry into our industry, but you are now at 250 employees.
Yes.
Where is this company heading? Because the pace at which it's developing is almost scary. So fast. Where is this company heading?
Yeah, it is really scary. So if I think about it, 2014, we were 20 people. Now it's 250 people in such a short time. And one part of our business is our supercars, but maybe the bigger part of our business is our technology. And we are actually helping all of the other automotive players in the industry to get closer to their hybrid versions or their pure electric versions.
Primarily a technology company, actually.
Yes.
Selling your supercars as an excuse or as a business in its own right?
We started with supercars because of a passion. You know, when you also develop all of the technology in the supercar, and we have broad knowledge how to develop a supercar, and that's why we are also able to help other companies to use our technology in their supercars, because we understand the whole process. We understand everything from the first design until the finished product.
It's very interesting for our audience to learn that now that we have Koenigsegg engines and Spykers, Koenigsegg has Rimac technology in the Regera, and Rimac is basically invoicing us, all of them. So there's an interesting tripartite relationship. Talking about Koenigsegg and Regera, Tariq, I witnessed you at Geneva, and it was virtually impossible to speak with you because there were just a gazillion people on the stand all the time. What was happening with Koenigsegg in Geneva?
Well, we've been very fortunate, as I said, over the last 12 months. We've experienced a tremendous upturn in sales and tremendous interest from pretty much every market, from the Far East, Middle East, Europe, the UK, and especially the United States. So we've been very fortunate and we've sold a lot of cars. It's been a great year.
Somebody whispered down my ear that basically all 80 Regeras have been sold.
Not quite, but we are sold out for 4 years. So 4 years of production is now sold.
Is that a problem? Is it a problem to have a waiting list of 4 years?
Yes, it is and it isn't. I guess it's a nice problem to have, I would say.
But are clients discouraged by the fact that they have to wait this long, or are
some are, yes, some are, but some aren't. For some customers, it works well because they have other cars coming in the next 4 years, and it kind of fits in well with their plans. You know, these cars are very expensive and big purchases, so a lot of our customers have multiple cars. You know, not just Koenigsegg. Maybe they have more than one Koenigsegg. They have other hypercars as well, and classic cars as well. So
exactly,
they have enough toys. Some of these.
The customer profile of a Koenigsegg buyer and a Spyker buyer is very, very similar.
Yes.
On average, a Spyker is the 7th car in the collection of the buyer. I'm sure this is pretty much the same.
I'm sure it's quite similar, yeah.
Very similar. It's your turn.
Right, so how do you see Spyker in the next few years? What are your plans and ambitions, and when do we see the first cars on the roads? And
well, we're of course very fortunate that we have now Koenigsegg as a partner, a technology partner. And indirectly, we also have now Rimac as a technology partner, because for our SUV, we will be using basically the Regera drivetrain. And that means that the Rimac developed technology will find its way ultimately in the Spyker product as well. So that makes this indeed quite an interesting lineup of people speaking to each other. The first Predators with the Koenigsegg engine in coupes will be coming towards the end of the year. America a little bit later. and then the Spiders will come as from the summer of next year. We're only making 50 coupes and 100 Spiders, but after that we have some interesting additional models lined up. And of course, our big thing, our next big thing, is the development of the Spyker D8 Peking to Paris, our SUV, with the hybrid technology that Regero has shown.
Oh no.
So just a general question, Victor, where do you see the future of the sports car industry in general?
Well, it is quite, we live in interesting times in this industry. A guy I admire a lot, Elon Musk, said something about the introduction of the car as a, basically when the carriages with horse-drawn carriages disappeared and the cars came, the only people that kept horses kept them because they wanted to play polo or ride them, right? I think sports cars will remain, whether they're full electric or whether they are hybrids or pure internal combustion engines, they will remain. Our market segment will remain. But I think that the rest of our industry, where car sharing and self-driving cars are going to be here in, I would say, 20 years from now, I'm glad I'm not a very large car maker making a generic product. Because if I look at the generation of my children, their father is a car maker and they love to drive cars, but they live in urban areas. They don't own cars. They drive with a little credit card, local electric smart cars in the city of Amsterdam for 30 cents a minute, right? It's unbeatable, and if they can't find a smart car, they'll be in an Uber.
Yeah.
So no headaches with parking, no headaches with insurance, no headache with cleaning the car. They just don't have any aspiration to own the car. And I think 20 years from now, this is going to be the trend. So not for the Bentleys, not for the Rolls Royces, not for the Rimacs, the Koenigseggs or the Spykers, because those are driver's cars that people will want to own. But for the generic form of transportation, I think we're going to see a dramatic change in behavior. And I'm glad I'm not in that marketplace.
So, Monica, let me ask you a question. Where do you see autonomous driving with hypercars?
So yeah, that's actually what I wanted to say. I think even hypercars are going to change in the future. Autonomous driving, we are going to implement it in our future cars. But it can be cool even in a supercar. Think about if you have Schumacher driving your car around the racetrack and teaching you how to drive around the racetrack. So you can use autonomous driving in a different ways. It can create a different driving experience, even for supercar drivers. And maybe in the future we will have more supercar drivers who doesn't have a lot of experience, but their car is going to teach them how to drive around the racetrack.
Quite an amazing development that we're looking at. Autonomous driving is perceived to be the next big thing. Is Koenigsegg looking at anything in that area?
Well, at the moment, no. But it's not to say they won't do in the future. Perhaps not with sports cars. I believe it was very bullish, you said. The last car on earth will be a sports car. So we still are very much looking for the future with our two-car model lineup, one very track-focused and another one that's obviously a little bit more refined, but both driven by people. And I think that's our customers, our drivers, and if they want an autonomous car, then perhaps they will have other cars in this same autonomous driving. But
would you not think that within a matter of years, if you want to enter Greater London or Amsterdam or New York, your car would need to have a self-driving mode? Because that's what I think is going to happen, right?
possibly, yeah, it's an interesting thought. One that we haven't really explored too much, to be honest with you.
We have time.
Yeah, we have time still.
We have to.
Yeah.
But I really think that the future is not going to change in a few years. It will take some time. You cannot close the whole city and have only autonomous vehicles. So it will be, I think, really step by step. Maybe they will first close city centers, and then they will, move it to the whole city. So I think we still have some time to live in the way we live right now.
Right. Rimac is very advanced in battery technology development. I mean, the battery pack you're supplying to Koenigsegg is nothing short of a gem. It's an amazing piece of work. What is Rimac's vision on where the battery development is going?
I think the next big thing with the battery development is going to happen if somebody do incremental changes on a cell development. Because in the battery pack development, we are doing as much as we can, but you cannot do much if cells are not improving. We are not developing cells, but we really hope that future is going to change. Although I have to point out that when we started, and that was already, when Mate started, that was already like 10 years ago, he just found his notebook and realized that things that he was writing about battery cells that were currently there on the market, right now, not many things changed. So basically, things are still the same after 10 years. So I'm not sure when this incremental change is going to happen.
It is a big problem that the industry faces. If any of you has ever been to London in the first weekend of November, you can experience the London to Brighton run. I've been fortunate to do it a few times with cars before 1904. Bear in mind that in 1904 in England they were celebrating the fact that it was no longer required to have a guy with a red flag walk ahead of the car. That was the regulation at the time. So when that was abandoned, the car basically took off. And then to celebrate that abandonment, they have still a run every year, London to Brighton, 50 miles. I've done it many times. But you have to be very careful when the cars start in the morning at the Serpentine in Hyde Park, not to be run over by an electric car. In 1904, there were electric cars capable of driving from London to Brighton, and they can still do it today. Relatively speaking, the development of the battery technology over the past 100 years has been very, very limited. And I totally agree with Monica that if there's not going to be a breakthrough technological development, this is going to be the biggest single hiccup for the further development of the electric car.
I'd just like to say something about how we safeguard our cars for the future. The Koenigsegg Regera is a hybrid and has a battery pack manufactured for us by Rimac. We've designed the car so the battery pack is very easy and very quick to change. So underneath our car there are, I think, 8 bolts. You just unbolt those, unplug the battery pack, and the pack just falls out from underneath the car. The idea is that in the future, obviously, as cell technology evolves, we're going to be able to have better battery packs that we're going to be able to offer to our customers, and they'll be very cheap and easy to replace the batteries and either improve the performance of the car or have the same level of performance at a much lower cost. I mean, the cells in our battery pack at the moment are state-of-the-art, and they cost around $150,000. We'll probably see that in the next 5-10 years probably drop quite significantly.
We hope so.
We hope so, right? Yeah, so,
You really hope so.
Yeah, so we've designed our cars to be able to safeguard against that in the future also.
I would really like to invite you to pose questions to us because we're here now. Please.
All right. You've done what we've all dreamed of, starting a car company. What was the most unexpected problem you had with starting your car company?
Right. I don't think we'd have that much time. You have to lose your mind to start a car company.
Well, we're
There's a
car
golden
people. We
rule
already
in
don't
the
have
industry.
it.
How do we end up with a small fortune?
Start with a big one.
Right? This is really the story of my life. I made my money in other ventures, and then I lost my mind, and I thought, how difficult can it be, right, to start my own car company? How wrong was I? I had no idea what the complications of certification were going to be. Crash testing our cars, emissions. I mean, putting a car in a hot soak room to see whether the glue and the tires provide fumes that are toxic. I had no idea. So the biggest problem that we were facing was the complexity of it all. It's hugely complex. But I never wanted to do anything else. It's been the most rewarding thing I've ever done. And I will never ever give up doing it. But it is, if young guys come to me and say, listen, this is my dream, I would love to start a car company, tell me how you did it. I said, well, don't even think about it. It's just way too complicated. And if they still do, after a few years, they drop out. And the unique thing about Koenigsegg and Spyker and Pagani is we started more or less at the same time. And in fact, if you look at today's landscape, we're the only three purely global players in the boutique brands, other than Bugatti, of course, which is owned by Volkswagen. Independents that are still there, that made it. And I would say that if you go back in history, the last company that really did that was Lamborghini. Lamborghini in the early 60s decided to become a car maker after all the tractors and not being happy with Ferrari. And he made it. And then after that, well, McLaren, of course, came in through their race car business and are now a serious player. But there are really no successful small boutique players. And I know why. I know why. Because it's insanely complicated and it takes up so much capital. It's a completely front-end funded business, right? You cannot sell your cars if you haven't paid all your development, right? You cannot do something as you go along. Another question.
And what do you guys think about Tesla? What do you guys think about Tesla?
Well, it's a very good question in the context of what we just said.
Yeah.
It being so amazingly complicated to set up a car manufacturing business from scratch, you can only be in awe and with full respect of what Elon Musk has done. It must be so complicated to build that product to the quality levels that he's done, and whether or not it's the right, technology or whether. I mean, for the time being, I can assure you that what he's done is beyond impressive, and whether or not the market will be with him in the years to come. I can't see how you can make money on a Model 3, but I don't know their P&L. How you can make money with a car like that at that price point, I don't understand, but I'm sure he does the right thing. So if he succeeds and he gets the car, the Model 3, into the marketplace, at that price point, it's going to be a crowbar in the industry. It's going to open up a whole new market.
I would just like to point out that he really shaped the car market and really changed it and changed the perception of people about electric cars. Many people ask us, do you consider Tesla as your competitor? We are not competing in the same league. Tesla is more with the Model S in a range of BMW 5-7 series, while we are competing with Koenigsegg, with Pagani, those kind of cars. But I think if Tesla is doing good, it's good for us because it's changing perception of people, and it's also good if we are doing good because we are changing perception of people that supercars can be fun in the future, and that even if we run out of gas, still the future is going to be fun for us.
Just about Tesla, I'd like to just tell you a little story about Christian and our founder and Tesla. When Christian, our founder, wanted to find out about electric cars, he went and bought a Tesla Model S. And he really just wanted to understand and engage the industry, understand where the technology was and how things were going. So, I mean, the one thing that he really liked about the Tesla was the fantastic acceleration, the huge torque that you get from the electric cars, and the instantaneous response. It's almost like a switch. When you hit the accelerator, the car just takes off. The thing he didn't like about it was there wasn't, for a car guy, there wasn't a lot of emotion there. There wasn't any sound. There wasn't a big engine in the back. There wasn't, there wasn't that emotional, that piece of emotion just missing from the driving experience. So he came up with the idea of not having a gearbox in the car after driving the Tesla, because he wanted a car with that instantaneous response. Didn't like hybrids because they had gearboxes, and he thought, why add more weight in with the gearbox and have batteries and motors, and the car becomes very heavy and then becomes slower. And then he thought, well, Teslas don't have gearboxes; they're just go. I mean, there's no gearbox in a Tesla. So why can't we do that with a hybrid? So the idea for removing the gearbox for the Regera actually came after driving a Tesla for a long time. I'd just like to go back to your question as well. You asked a question before about being successful in the car business. I think it's a question that Christian, our founder, gets asked a lot. People ask him a lot. I mean, what's the secret? They think there's some big secret to being successful in the car game. And the honest answer is, I can tell you what he tells people, there is no big secret. It's just a lot of hard work and never giving up.
Perseverance.
What were some of the unusual things that you, that Christian, what were some of the unusual things that Christian had to deal with launching his
Well,
line?
it's a minefield. I mean, it really is. There are so many different things, as Victor explained. There's homologation, there's funding, there's getting the money. I mean, in the beginning,
money,
I mean, Christian really didn't have any money when he started the company.
That's surprising.
He managed to get a loan from the Swedish government, which he burned through very quickly. And then, his father went to his father for some money. He was quite a successful entrepreneur and a businessman, but he was retired. He asked his father for some money, and his father, believed in the dream and invested in the company. And it got to a stage where his father invested so much in the company, he couldn't afford for it to fail. So he actually ended up selling his house and selling everything and investing everything into the company, in his 60s. His name's Jesko, he's a great guy. He comes to Geneva every year. I think that was probably one of the toughest things, probably. I mean, having to have your father really sell everything, that would be quite tough for anyone, right? I mean, so he couldn't fail. So that really drove him.
I think the hardest point for everybody who are starting their own supercar business is actually getting the money for the business.
Oh, always the money, always.
You will always have some rough points. I remember the one from our history. We were discussing with one Russian company for supplying our technology because they were producing a sports car and they wanted to do electric sports car. And after long negotiations, and we were already discussing, where the car is going to be assembled. Is it going to be in Croatia or is it going to be in Moscow? And we had to sign a contract. The deal was almost done, but they told us you have to bring the car to Russia for our CEO to see it and test it, if it's real true, if the car is performing like you're claiming. We did that. That was really tough because getting the car to Moscow back then, you needed to have a police escort because the value is so high and you invest a lot of money in it. And then we arrived there, they tested the car, and the car was performing great. Range that we claimed proved correctly. But at the end, he told us, great guys, what you're doing, but I don't want to make electric sports car. It doesn't have a sound. And we were like, what the hell? You knew that even before we came there, And that project was something that was supposed to help us survive, because back then we didn't have investors and we were financing ourselves by selling our technology to other clients. I remember that was the lowest point in our history. We went to the shitty hotel in Moscow and I was looking at the ceiling and thought, okay, how are we going to come back and tell our guys that it's over? And somehow, I don't know how we made it. I think Mate sold his father's Harley Davidson while his father was not at home. Put the money into the company and somehow we made it and closed our first round then in 2014 and things got better from then on.
Oh my gosh. I'll be sure to tell Harley Davidson that they're responsible for...
We have Mike Rutherford here. He was slightly delayed, but he has some question for us. He's a world-renowned journalist. Welcome, Mike. And
good morning.
Kindly shoot. We have one more question that I would like to have posed before you start.
Well, I really need this. One of the questions that interests me is that, most of you people, when you got into your business, it was like your money and your funding. I just wonder sometimes with the fact that the way that Tesla is now valued more than General Motors or Ford, if that kind of public speculation could actually hurt the industry in the long run. Say, for example, Tesla doesn't eventually make money or deliver on its profitability targets, if the fact that it's a big publicly funded company and there's so much speculation in its stock, if that's something that could eventually hurt the sector as a whole?
Personally, I don't think so. Because a car company or a chemical company or a telephone company, many of them are large, many of them are public, and there's speculation in their shares all day, every day. So I really don't think that that's going to hurt us or the industry in general. This is part and parcel of the financial world in which those companies play a role. Spyker was publicly traded until 2013. I've had my share of that. Thank the Lord we're no longer public. And no, and I wouldn't go back to the stock market, that I can assure you. It's just for small players like us. It's not a place to be. Mike, please shoot.
Good morning. I'm not delayed actually. I'm here on time. It's just that you guys started early, I think. But
Sorry for that.
That's
Picky,
all right.
picky,
You
picky.
pass out of the box, you know, sort of
Well, we filled the gap.
That's right.
Your mic is
Listen,
not working.
Those of you who don't know me, which is everybody, my name's Mike Rutherford.
Good shout.
And I'm a journalist and broadcaster from the UK. The nature of my work as a motoring journalist is I get to...
Closer.
Are you not hearing me, guys?
There you go.
Okay. I get to drive things like Formula One cars and supercars and hypercars, but sadly I have to give them back afterwards, whereas hopefully people will be turning up this show and will be in a very different league because they'll be able to buy them. So let me start with you, Terry. Why would anybody buy one of your cars rather than the opposition?
Well, I think it's an interesting question. I think the nice thing about our customers is actually a lot of them don't have to choose. If they like the Rimac or they like the Spyker and they like the Koenigsegg, they'll buy all of them. They're just in that kind of position. So I don't really think we really face that problem. I mean, we sell very few cars every year. We deliver very few cars, only about 25 cars a year this year. Yeah, I don't think we really have that issue really. They don't have to choose.
And you were telling me yesterday that you're the salesman that doesn't really have to sell anything.
Well, yeah, in a way, yes. I see.
The easiest job in the world.
Well, kind of. Well, I always say sales is either the easiest job in the world, or the hardest job in the world, both at the same time. Yeah, I see my job very much as just being able to present the vehicles and present them, answer all the questions anyone has, and just be knowledgeable about the cars. And I think a lot of customers buy Koenigsegg's also to be kind of, it might sound a little bit corny, but to be part of a car family, because we really are a family-run business. And we sometimes are very close with our customers and our dealers, and we treat them like family.
And I suppose they're joining a very exclusive club, to say the least. Monica, what would you say to somebody who comes to you and says, because I understand it's not perhaps whether somebody's going to buy one car over another, it's often the case that they might want to buy a car one day, or perhaps some art, or some very expensive watch. I mean, what would you say to somebody who's not quite sure that on the day whether it's buy another piece of artwork or a new supercar?
I always say they have to try the car and then they will love it, you know. When they feel this experience they can have in a supercar, I think it's a little bit different experience than looking at the art. And of course it depends on the person. Somebody will prefer looking at the art and will never think about a supercar. But maybe somebody who will try the supercar and realize what the opportunities can have and how much fun he can have with driving it, will decide to buy a supercar.
Isn't it also the case you're getting a supercar and a piece of art at the same time?
Yeah, I always say, you know, sometimes buying those supercars, you can place them in your living room and look at them, you know, it's a piece of art. All of those cars you have over here, they're a piece of art. And a lot of passion, time and effort was invested to produce those cars.
Absolutely. Victor?
It's a very easy sell generally, because the boutique brands are, if you look at the typical customer, right? When he was young and quite successful, usually. So they buy a BMW and they buy an M3, and when they're done buying M3s, they buy a Porsche 911. By the time they figure out that all their peers have a Porsche 911 too, they buy a Ferrari, or a Bentley, or an Aston Martin. I'm talking Spyker buyers. They never buy Lamborghinis, they never buy McLarens. Those three brands. But in that pool of buyers, there is always a small percentage of people that want something else. Because they now moved to suburbia and find out that everybody in Greenwich has a Ferrari 488, right? And that's very embarrassing. So they want to have something else. So where are they going to go? So then they come to the real boutique players. They go and buy Pagani, Koenigsegg, Spyker, or Bugatti. The attraction that I think Pagani, Koenigsegg, and Spyker have is that people can still buy the car from the founder. And you would be surprised how many people find it. If you talk to our owners, and tonight I have a dinner with 25 owners here in New York, they're so pleased with the fact that they can actually talk to the guy who founded the company and built their car. And that's an attraction that very few other brands can provide.
Yeah, good point. And who are these buyers? I mean, we think of them, and perhaps you can pass the mic down as we go through who you think are the typical buyers. Are they the Jay-Z's and the Beyoncé's and the Hollywood actors and actresses? Are they business people? Who are they?
Yeah, I would say business people who have their own businesses, and I think the two common factors between them all is obviously these cars are quite expensive, so they've obviously got a bit of money in the bank account. But the one universal thing is that all for Koenigsegg is that they're all real car enthusiasts and very, very passionate about cars.
Monica, who do you see as the typical?
For us, it's a bit different. We also have technology lovers, people who maybe never planned to buy a supercar, but they love the technology, they love what future is bringing to us, and that's why they want to be part of our family. Of course, we also have those car enthusiasts who love the driving experience, and when they feel what they can get with a supercar with 4 electric motors and this torque vectoring system that we developed, they fall in love with it and then they buy the car.
Please tell me you've dealt with somebody very rich, very famous.
Yeah, but the good we have, I tell you we have. But the point is that in good faith, I'm sure Rimac and Koenigsegg will do the same. You'll never disclose the names of your very famous clients because that would be very inappropriate to do. But we do have A-listers and super singers and clients like that who buy the car because it's different. And with the introduction of the Koenigsegg engine in our new models, we're taking that different to another level, right? A car manufacturer that makes 25 cars a year and has now developed an engine of which we're going to make maybe 50 or a maximum 100 a year. That is really special. So now we see an influx of buyers that have been on the fence with us because of the not so bespoke nature of the Audi engine. And now we have a Koenigsegg engine and they say, wow, that was the missing link. Now Spyker is a completely bespoke product. Now we're buying into it. And as I said, it's the 7th car in the collection, and our buyers are invariably very wealthy. But I would generally describe them as car guys. They're car guys and some car women.
Thank you.
And they buy manuals.
Not enough, I'm sure you're saying. Listen, thanks everyone. I've been told we've got to wrap it up now, sadly. It's, I think we could have talked about this subject for hours, but
Yes.
Thank you very much indeed, everyone, and thanks for your time.
Thanks for joining.
This is Pam from NortheastWheelsEvents.com.
Is there a chance we can get a group shot of you over by the cars?
Thanks, guys.
At the 2017 New York International Auto Show. For more events like this, make sure you check into NortheastWheelsEvents.com, SoutheastWheelsEvents.com, and UKWheelsEvents.com, and take me for a ride in your supercar.